that's not good.
I promise there's a reason I lit my Fold 7 on fire, but we'll get to that in a second. In the last 6 years of taking apart folding phone screens, I have never been able to remove a fold screen and have it survive. That changes today. I cleaned off my desk for this, so you know we have some serious business to take care of. I'm locked in and focused, and we're going to prove once and for all that the soft folding Samsung screens can be removed successfully. As far as I know, no one else has succeeded in this procedure on the Fold 7. So if I can do it, that means my skills are unrivaled and I should take up brain surgery in my spare time. See, we know the folds have a soft inner screen, but not only is it soft, but also extremely fragile around the edges. Just like how the Death Star had its weakness at the exhaust port, every folding phone has its weaknesses around the sides where all the sandwiched layers are stacked up. If dust ever gets inside this plastic bezel, it's curtains for the fold. Luckily, these black plastic borders are extremely well attached, so much so that it's very difficult to remove them. And they have some additional rubbery sealant that probably helps with the IP48 rating. And it's good to know now that they'll never come off on their own accidentally. And there's also not really a reason anyone would need to remove this center screen unless it's already broken. I just want to put myself to the test to be better than all the rest. And now that the bezel is completely removed, Taylor said it best, it is never, ever, ever getting back together. I've been this far before though, so we haven't accomplished anything great yet, and now I'll add some heat which will hopefully soften the adhesive a bit under the screen. The reason I feel like we will be successful this time around is because Samsung supposedly has added a titanium backplate to the flexible screen, under the parts that aren't supposed to be flexible of course, and as long as I stay under that titanium sheet, and I don't twist or cause torsion to the screen, it should be just fine. It can bend like a hot dog or a hamburger, but not both at the same time. I also know that from the other Fold 7 teardowns on YouTube, like from iFixit or the Phone Repair Guru, that the sensitive electronics on this Fold 7, like the ribbon cables, are along the left side of the screen, so I'll remove that portion last. Learning from other people's mistakes is the best way to succeed. I'll drip some isopropyl alcohol into the gap, which does an amazing job at dissolving the adhesive without adding any additional stress to the screen. And we're officially halfway there. Maneuvering this single flap of screen, you can see how thin it is, and it's amazing that everything appears to still be functional. I'll check for sure in a second, but for now though, more alcohol is required, and some extremely gently forceful pulling, making sure the sensitive ribbons that are folded along the left side don't get kinked or yoinked, since we're dealing with something basically as fragile as a piece of paper. And would you look at that? You can tell by how much my hands are shaking how shocked I am that this actually worked. Maybe I am the best that's ever been. Maybe I'm the king of smartphone repairs.
If I can successfully remove the display on the Fold 7, what can't I do? I think the next logical step is obviously global domination.
Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. Let's make sure everything still works before we get too far ahead of ourselves. You might have thought I was filming this teardown in the USA this whole time, but psych, I was actually in Austria. Or that's at least what the government thinks, thanks to today's sponsor, Surfshark. I can create a VPN and change the location of my internet browsing to any of 3,000 different servers in 100 different locations, all within seconds while encrypting my internet traffic for the ultimate layer of online security. One Surfshark account protects an unlimited amount of devices, like your family's phones, computers, and tablets, which is especially relevant now with everything that's going on. Surfshark also comes with a built-in antivirus. I'm super shocked that this screen is still working. Plus, it allows me to set up a whole new alternate identity to protect my real name and real email from scammers, spammers, and strangers. And of course, Uncle Sam. Online security starts with a VPN, and Surfshark makes it effortless with 24/7 no-log protection. You can try it yourself risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee at the link in the description. Protection is always a good thing. Now, basically every time I mention that the inner screen is made from plastic, without fail, someone responds that it's only plastic because of the built-in screen protector, which is a valid observation, even though Samsung says this layer is non-removable, which technically makes it a permanent part of the screen. It's still worth taking a closer look at. With the top layer completely gone and removed, the layer directly underneath the top plastic is also plastic, very visibly scratching at a level 2. The layers that matter most can all be damaged by a fingernail. And also, now just for scientific purposes of course, let me show you how important those outer bezel plastic pieces really are. With just the slightest touch to the edge of the Fold 7's flexible inner screen, with my jerry-rig knife, it instantly dies. Those plastic bezels we removed earlier are vital to the survival of your center screen. What's cool though, as we peel back the other layers of the sandwich to get to our titanium backplate, is that Samsung is still including an inner glass layer. You can hear it crackle and pop. This is the ultra-thin glass, both in name and in functionality, and while it's not one of the top layers, it is definitely still in here adding some support. Samsung also makes the display on the Pixel Fold, which includes ultra-thin glass as well. And let's be real, Samsung is probably going to be making the display for the folding iPhone later this year, since nobody else has better folding screen technology at the moment than Samsung, and Apple isn't ready to start inventing things on their own. Pulling off the shiny titanium backplate, there are a few ways to see if this is real titanium or not. One is with a $20,000 XRF scanner, which I do not currently own, but I will be writing a letter to Santa. The other method of verification is with fire, since as we know, titanium forms colorful oxide bands as it gets heated up. The metal mesh in the center of the screen is also probably made from titanium as well. This just adds more structure to the center crease, which is the most vulnerable part of the display. After heating the metal with my butane lighter, I really don't see any bluing of the material. A butane lighter burns at about 1600 degrees Fahrenheit, which might not be hot enough. Bumping things up a bit to my MAP gas torch, which burns more than twice as hot, at 3700 degrees, we finally get some action.
Oh, that's not good. Oh no. Yikes.
This fire tells us a few things. The white hot sparks of the reactive metal mesh is indicative of titanium. And now we do start seeing those colorful heat rings, which is how real titanium would react. Steel would not burn for as long on its own, and the sparks from the steel are more of a yellow or orange in color, and aluminum doesn't really spark at all. Fun fact, the firework fountains you see on the 4th of July are usually made with a titanium powder because of how reactive and brightly it burns. Finally, the screen is plugged into the phone from the inside, and predictably nothing else is accessible to the phone underneath the folding screen. So like we predicted earlier, there would never be a real-world situation where this screen needs to come off, unless it's already broken or damaged and needs to be replaced anyway. Or of course, if you're just trying to flex on the rest of the world with your phone repairing prowess. My phone is still totally functional, minus that interior screen, so just for fun and with the hopes that someone somewhere can use this video someday to repair their own smartphone, we'll continue with the rest of the disassembly, so you know what to expect on the inside before you actually get there. The back glass comes off easy enough, in one piece if you take your time. The front screen is also rather difficult since it's recessed deep into the aluminum frame, but with enough heat and a thin enough pry tool, taking care not to touch the edge of the AMOLED display under the glass, it is doable, just like how we accomplished on the Flip 7 teardown earlier, and then it just unplugs like a little Lego. Now with both the front and rear glass removed, we have access to about 37 little Phillips head screws. It's a fascinating marvel to see how much technology Samsung has crammed into such a small space. We have the 15-watt wireless charger that can reverse wireless charge at 4.5 watts. We also have the SIM card tray, which is basically just as thick as the rest of the phone. I'll remove some of the protective shielding around the daughter board, and we get our first look at the super long battery on the right side of the flattened device. It sits right below the upper stereo loudspeaker, which does have some metal mesh over the opening. Samsung has included pull tabs on the battery again, thumbs up for that, but the pull tabs are only on the lower half of the ultra-long battery, which makes bendage still an issue. Any bending of the battery could cause a short in the inner layers, making it combust or cause gas to fill up the battery pouch, which is something Samsung is kind of famous for. The long battery is 2210 mAh. With the battery gone, we can see some mill markings on the aluminum chassis. The marks are left as the tool makes its path around the different cavities of the phone. Samsung sells about 2 million of these fold devices every single year, which is an absolutely astronomical amount of machine time. I think it'd be really cool to see the factory someday. The left battery also has pull tabs and is 2190 mAh. bringing our total to $4,400. The lower charging port ribbon has its gold microphone hardware, as well as the shellless USB-C 2.0 port that uses a red rubber ring to mate with the frame of the phone to provide its water resistance. The vibrator is rectangular and one of the thinnest we've ever seen. Let me know if you'd like me to make an in-depth vibrator review video at some point. The technology is fascinating. The 5G millimeter wave antenna comes out next, kinda cool looking. Then the motherboard, which amazingly, in a $2,000 phone, does not have any sort of external cooling system in place. The top 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera does not have any OIS. The 200 megapixel main camera in the center does have optical image stabilization, and the 10 megapixel telephoto camera at the bottom also has OIS. There's a little bit of cooling underneath the graphite tape on the back, mostly here to eliminate the air gap between the processor and the graphite, but once that heat hits the graphite, there is another air gap between it and the anodized aluminum frame of the phone. Air is not good, and to make matters worse, the blue anodizing layer does reduce the thermal conductivity of the aluminum frame, so heat is definitely something to keep an eye on for smartphone power users. The two selfie cameras for the exterior and interior screens are both 10 megapixels without any optical image stabilization. Now, the only part left to see is the spine of the Fold 7, which is interestingly enough held in place by another 24 Phillips head screws, all covered with some gray rubberized tape. I assume this tape is here to help with the waterproofing, ensuring no liquid seep inside the frame through the screw holes if it ever gets wet. It's good to see the extra protection, of course, but also you should probably just try not to get your $2,000 smartphone wet. And there you have it. 27% thinner and 43% lighter than the hinge on the previous Fold 6. Extremely cool. As always, thanks a ton for watching, and I'll see you around.